there, this is Carol Stimmel in the Engerati studio at European Utility Week 2015. I'm joined today by Chris King, who's the Global Chief Regulatory Officer at Siemens Digital Globe. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Glad to be here.
Siemens Digital Grid, excuse me. So we're really happy to have you here. Siemens has always had quite a presence since I've been involved in clean tech and smart meter industry, I guess for a decade now. And you have lots and lots of interest in many, many areas. But today we are thinking about Siemens really as a sort of a platform for the smart grid. Did I characterize that right? Do you want to explain a little bit of who you are, what you're doing, and what Siemens is up to now?
Sure. So that's one of the things we do. Siemens is a huge company, so we do all things utility, all the hardware from transformers to switches to you know it. My area, the digital grid area, focuses on the software side. And that means software for handling what we call IT data, which is metering data, billing data, anything associated with devices, so it could be a smart thermostat. And then there's the OT side, operational technology, which is the control system software. And that's the software that utilities use to actually switch the grid and change things in substations and make sure the power is flowing properly all over the transmission grid and now the distribution grid. So, long answer to your question, but we actually have two platforms. We have the OT platform, the IT platform,
okay.
And then we're bringing those together uniquely, what we think, in the industry.
Yes, well, and Chris, we've been I think we've just met a few times, but we've been kind of circling each other a long time in this industry. And when we had a chance to talk not long ago, we were both talking about NY Rev, which is an initiative in New York in the United States about changing, really actively working on the changing utility business model. And I misspoke and said digital globe, but it actually, when we think about the digital grid, we're taking lessons from different parts of the globe and trying to reapply them in other places. So New York is being followed by lots and lots of other states who are experiencing a high penetration renewables situation, but also in Europe as well, the UK especially. Can you tell me a little bit about this idea of market animation and what that means to markets outside of the United States, especially in Europe?
Market animation is the New York term for really engaging the demand side in the market. So New York Rev, rightly so, is the focus of a lot of attention because this discussion is going on everywhere. It's being discussed in Europe, in Asia, across the US. That being, what is the future of the utility, the distribution utility in particular? Mm-hmm. What should it be doing besides making sure the electrons are being delivered all the time, 24/7? So what they're doing in New York is they're saying, let's look at this future. What do we want that to be? We want an engaged demand side, meaning energy efficiency, meaning demand response, meaning energy storage, meaning charging electric vehicles, meaning getting some sort of pricing from the market that puts appropriate value on those things. And bringing that all together and having a neutral expert party who's regulated, which is the distribution utility, to do that. So animating the market means making it work vibrantly, making those customers, giving them a lot of options to participate, to control their consumption, to get the greatest value out of their electricity, whether it be generating on site or simply getting more convenience, something as simple as a smart thermostat.
Right, so when you were describing what Siemens is doing and you were talking about the two platforms and the multiple interests you have, that must be a very compelling vision for you. It seems it's already kind of a natural fit for the way you've approached the market for a while.
Very much so, and it's going to the next step. So we've done it for 150 years, mm-hmm. and now we're looking at the next 150 years. Making it digital, that's one of Siemens' core goals over the next decade. But again, taking advantage of IT and the capabilities it brings, taking advantage of smart meters, taking advantage of data storage and data analytics, all to bring about a better experience for the customer, whether it's more reliability or perhaps cost savings on their energy, or automation to control it automatically, or maybe, particularly this year with climate change, what can I do to reduce my own emissions, which may not mean any kind of sacrifice. It may just be maybe shifting some usage, using energy a little more wisely.
Well, one of the things I know that you've worked on for quite a while is really leading thought about how the utility is going to evolve. I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit about what you see in two ways. Like, what's coming now? What are the tactical steps that we're making now to sort of drive a long-range vision? And what is the long-range vision that you see?
So on the tactical side, coming back to this platform idea, being prepared for different futures, for new technologies that are coming in, putting in technology that can be changed. Utilities are known for having pretty IT systems that are pretty difficult to change rate designs or implement new tariffs or add a new service, becoming a little bit more like telecom companies where they're changing products and services much more frequently to respond to the needs of the market and the requirements of the customer. So looking out, what does this utility look like? There are a lot of things that utilities are best positioned to do. Of course, they've got the expertise in asset management and power delivery and understanding how the market works. And the electricity market is really one of the more complex ones, and that's because it's connected all the time. One electron, put on the grid in New York could end up in California.
Right.
So understanding how that works is really quite a challenge. But utilities, the innovative ones, are coming to the forefront. There's one utility in Texas, their bill of the future is not, $127 at the end of the month. It's, your refrigerator is $12,
right.
Your lighting was $17, et cetera. So those kinds of innovative services and flexibility.
Services, you're talking about services. So you were just talking about this utility bill of the future, so that implies the ability to disaggregate the major loads. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how, I suppose over time it'll get more and more granular. But when you talk about these devices, I know we have some emerging concepts like prices to devices, transactive energy systems. One of the things we don't talk as much about, and I'd love to hear what you think about it, is sort of focusing on the services, so transactive services. So what are the services that we can, energy-related services we can deliver to a home? So when we look at this disaggregation, do you think about using that in an enhanced way as well?
Very much so. So an example would be managing my home. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that could be done automatically and remotely. My smart thermostat is one example. And there are companies that do that today, that they'll manage it for me to reduce my consumption. And if I go on a time of use pricing plan, they'll do things like pre-cool my home before the peak period starts in the afternoon. So I can save money that way and maintain my comfort. As new devices, more rooftop solar, home energy storage, backup power systems, or for businesses get more complex and more opportunities, then there are a lot of services around managing that, maintaining that, controlling that, to maximize. Again, from the customer's perspective, nobody's interested in managing their energy, but they do want somebody to do it for them, automatically, preferably, so they can achieve their goals. Most customers do want to have a lesser impact on the environment. Most customers do want to save a little money if they can.
Well, who are going to be these players, these service providers? Are they going to be new players or traditional players taking on a new role in the energy world?
Both. So
Okay.
New players, the solar cities and nests of the world.
Right.
And then utilities who are looking out and saying, where can we provide innovative services and not compete with the market? So that's one of the big regulatory challenges right now is drawing that line, because you don't want to inhibit competition in the market, you want to animate it. But utilities are in a better position to do some things. So a specific example of that is EV charging. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean utilities should do it all, but In California, there used to be a rule that utilities could not do it. And after about 4 years, the PUC looked at it again and said, well, this isn't working. Maybe there is a role for utilities. So are there places that utilities should provide charging, multifamily housing or public sites,
Right.
Where it's more difficult for a private company to get a sponsor? Should they come in and do that? So there's a proceeding going on right now. It looks like the commission is going to say utilities should do it in certain circumstances. In other circumstances, let's rely on the market.
It's a tough question. So in the remaining moments that we have, just sort of closing our thinking around the evolving business model and the role that the utility is going to play. You clearly have important insight into this, and it sounds like that in some ways the regulatory system is locking out utilities from evolving in particular ways, and in other regulatory areas like New York, they're trying to animate it. So what do you think, I mean, given the 4,000 utilities in the United States, all the various bodies in Europe, Africa, around the world, is there going to be a dominant model? What is kind of your dream or vision for that?
It will take many years for a dominant model to emerge, I believe, because you have so much diversity in political geography as well as technology. Right. But I guess what I've seen work the best is where the utility sits down and figures out, this is what we want to do, this is where our core expertise is, this is how we can provide benefits to customers. And they take the initiative with the regulator. Where regulators impose on utilities, it's usually much more difficult for the utility to respond. But where utilities are proactive and come forward with those benefits, regulators are usually very accommodating and willing to have those conversations.
So what I hear you saying is we're looking for a more collaborative future here, and in fact maybe there's an imperative for that. And new technologies are the predominant driver in forcing that collaboration, I think.
And cost reductions, performance increases. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so this is Carol Stimmel in the Engerati studio at European Utility Week. Really like to thank Chris King with Siemens for joining us today for a short chat today. Thank you so much. All right, great.
Fantastic.